a.m. and this is your Zoom and our business owner peer groups with Steve Kunkel, membership chair of the Entrepreneurs Organization, Nebraska. I am your host, John Fullwider, and it's just a real delight to have you here this morning. In a few moments, I'm going to introduce Steve after I let you know that I, as your host, am here to speak to two groups of people. One, basically business owners of all types, and then also business owners and my clients who use what's called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It is a business operating system that lets you get all the right people in the right seats, get your processes perfected, and as a result, increase your profit. Stick around after the interview with Steve if you would like to learn more. And if you don't want to, no hard feelings. I've got a couple of Zoominars coming up. This one will be of a special interest to EOS running companies or companies that are thinking about running EOS. Within EOS, we have this key function, this key seat called the integrator. The integrator is the one who seamlessly integrates the work of the major functions in the business, executes on the plan, makes the trains run on time, solves day-to-day problems, speaks up when there's an accountability issue, and perhaps most importantly, frees up the visionary, who's typically the owner of the company, to operate in her or his unique ability, which often is being 100 miles out front and 10 years ahead of the company, looking for the next opportunity while the integrator is in the office running the day-to-day. So there's been a lot of mystery about integrators. Visionaries hear this and go, oh my gosh, this sounds like a unicorn. Get me some of that. And what we have coming up on June 26th at 8 a.m. is two gentlemen with more than a decade of experience placing integrators at EOS running firms. So Mike and Tony are the visionary and the integrator who actually recruited and placed the integrator for EOS Worldwide, you know, the organization that invented the concept of integrator. So you can trust their data, you can trust their experience. That's June 26th at 8 a.m. And then I'm super excited about this. We just booked this yesterday. My great friend, Gina Tremarco, who is a Second City trained improv comedian, founder of an improv comedy theater, and a nationally known speaker and trainer on improving your business communication and sales skills with improv techniques, is going to give us a little taster of an online program she's running to help you improve your communication skills, improve your selling skills, and basically just show up in a more engaging way on Zoom. That is July 10th at 8 a.m. All right, with that, we are back to our guest for today, which is Steve Kunkel. Steve, again, is membership chair of Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a business owners peer group, an international federation of business owners who share a desire to excel in their business, right? Excel in their personal lives. And they do that through a number of different tools, one of which Steve and I are going to dive into deep, which is the forum. That's where you have the camaraderie of a small group of fellow entrepreneurs, having that just irreplaceable bond with other business owners who have also perhaps struggled with whether they're going to make payroll on Thursday night, dry heaving that night. There's no replacing, friends, the camaraderie of people who have been there and thrown up that. Steve Kunkel is also co-founder and president of Stonebrook Exterior, and he is passionate about seeing other business owners enjoy business ownership. So with that, let's welcome Steve Kunkel. This is going to be an interview format where I'm going to ask Steve a bunch of questions I've prepared. That said, we would love to have your questions instead of mine. So please type those into the Q&A box. Down in your little Zoom controls, you'll see various things, participants, you know, mute yourself and everything. And then there's these little speech bubbles called Q&A. If you could type your questions there, man, that would help us so much. And ask them anytime. We want this to be a back and forth. We want to cover what you are interested in. So I'm going to stop my share here. Make Steve go full screen. All right. Good morning, Steve. Tell us how you got involved in EO.
First off, John, hey, thank you for having me this morning. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate being here and discussing EO with you. EO is an amazing organization. We have amazing things that come from EO. Starting off, my journey started in EO in 2017. I was recommended by a friend of mine, and I eventually started discussing everything about EO with several of my business entrepreneur peer group, and I can tell you it was an overwhelming yes, to the point that some of them had said it was, who had been in EO for 18 years, had said it was the greatest thing they've ever done for their business. So the journey started in 2017 with a simple referral from a friend.
Yeah, great. And what were maybe 2 or 3 things that really made it an overwhelming yes? What appealed to you?
So, we get involved in so many of these network groups, and hey, let's do business together, this and that. Let's meet for coffee on Thursday morning, and I'll bring a lead, you bring a lead, or so on and so forth. And EO is not a networking system. And that probably was the single most handedly, hey, we're not a networking system. We're a peer-to-peer organization where entrepreneurs can collectively share information in a completely 100% confidential environment. And that really sparked some interest in me, knowing as a growing business, I needed some assistance from other entrepreneurs that had been there or that were seeking the same experience that I was.
Yeah, talking about that confidential environment, to talk about the challenges of being a business owner, right? We hear this saying, right? It's almost a cliche. It's lonely at the top. Tell me, how lonely is it at the top? What's the experience of loneliness that you've endured, right, as a business owner?
So, a lot of the times most of the time in our lives, we live in the 90 percentile of where we're working our lives. We don't we don't operate a lot in the 5% highs and the 5% lows. We don't share that information with our friends. It's hard for a friend to understand exactly what it is, whether I'm going to make payroll on next Thursday, or whether we're meeting our quotas, or whether revenue's down this quarter, next quarter, or what our projections are looking like. Most of my friends really aren't interested in hearing those type of numbers, nor can I go home and explain things to my wife, because the last thing she wants to hear is me dumping my business onto her. And just the challenges of business. Entrepreneurs are a different sort. Business owners, we have so many different challenges from day to day that it's hard to explain that to people that aren't entrepreneurs, to people that aren't living in that moment every day.
Yeah, you alluded to a key EO concept, which you've called living in the 5%, right?
Yeah.
The 5% yes. That's kind of like the lowest lows, which you just covered, and the 5% that's the highest highs. Tell me what it means to talk with other business owners about the highest highs.
So what's great about it is, so hey, if I had a $3 million deal today or something like that, and I can call and celebrate with my fellow EOers and say, hey guys, listen, we just hit something that's going to make our quarter. The margins are huge. It's something that, I'm not going out and taking that to my friends or even my wife. It's like sometimes people feel that's bragging, or, hey, listen, I went out and bought a new Ferrari today. Well, that didn't happen today, but I can share that type of information with my peers in EO and not feel that I'm bragging or not feel that I'm trying to be somebody I'm not, because you want to share those great things. Yeah, we like to focus on issues, but being able to share successes is good to the soul, makes you feel better.
Let's talk about focusing on issues. That's something that you do within your EO forum. Just
Correct.
explain to us what the EO forum is.
So the forum in EO, I feel, is one of the largest takeaways from being in EO. So basically, a forum is comprised of 6 to 10 individuals and of various businesses, and we meet once a month for 11 months, and then 1 month we take a retreat. This year we are actually in May headed down to St. John, and unfortunately that was has to be redirected. But the thing about forum is, when we're together, we first go through what we call a update. Now, the update starts off with the health and wellness of our mind, our bank accounts, our family, and our friends and community. And then we go into the updates of basically the same thing that says, okay, here are the 5% highs within my family, and here are the 5% lows. Do I have issues in those 5% that I really need to discuss today that are very urgent, that will make a difference in my business decisions, my decisions with my family, or decisions in my personal life? And then, just like an EOS process, we go through and look at all these issues, and the moderator picks out 2 issues that we will present on. And from that, we have several different formats of presenting with the coach and the individual that is the presenter. And basically, we walk through the issue, very similar to an IDS, and we identify, we discuss, and we don't solve. What we do, however, is we provide experience share. And because in EO, one of the big things about EO is not being the smartest person in the room. You know, I've owned a business for 17 years now. Grew it from a small little shack in Carlton, Nebraska, to a business across several states. And I'm definitely not the smartest individual in the room. I've been very fortunate. But in EO, the experience share is something that we basically somebody would call it advice, but it's not. It's saying, hey, this is what happened to me during a time in my life where I had the same experience that you're having now. And that really gives an individual an opportunity to make his own decision, to pave his own way or her own way. And it's a great way to share information without trying to direct somebody to an agenda that you may have.
Yeah, it's a key distinction in the way that you do issue solving within EO. You present a situation, and the great thing is that in a group of 6, 7, 10 folks, somebody else has experienced somewhat of a similar situation. And so they can give you perspective that jogs your own thinking and helps you make your best decision. They'll tell you, well, here's what from experience I did. And there's also that prohibition about we don't speak in terms of theory, right? We just speak in
Exactly.
terms of experience, right? And let me just jump in for a second and say that the way that this all fits in for those EOS fans, Entrepreneurial Operating System fans, on the call is this is issue solving and vision clarifying for the visionary, right? at a high level, the visionary is going to use her or his EO forum to simplify and clarify their vision, right? And then with the ideas a little bit straighter in their head, you're then going to go into your same page meeting with your integrator or perhaps directly to your leadership team to get that decision executed, right? So
Yes.
clarify with your fellow entrepreneurs, get perspective, right? Make a tentative or maybe even a full decision, right? And then go get it executed. That's the bridge between EO and EOS, right? So
Definitely.
let's get into specifics in your experience. Can you tell us like one or two stories of an issue your EO forum helped you solve in your business at Stonebrook?
Yes, I can. So, we at Stonebrook, we're a company that's grown on average 39% per year since its conception, uh, which tends us to ride near the edge of success and or failure because cash flow is always an issue when you're a growing company. In I'm an individual that I like taking on a lot in life, and the more I've been involved in EO, and the thing that EO has provided me is the sense of being able to manage some of those day-to-day challenges that I might have when I'm taking on several businesses. I can tell you through Forum, I've learned sharing my experience of, okay, I have this one business I'm running, I have another business I'm started, and I just bought another business. I've been able to understand a little bit more ways of, hey, this is how you can manage, simplify life, and get back to what your focus is to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself or the people around you. And what that has brought me to do is enabled me to focus on the business that is single-handedly the most profitable and reduce my involvement in others and or let some of those businesses go. And that's what I have done over the last 6 months. And that helped me tremendously. Some of the other things is, the one thing that's amazing about the forum and the presentation process, not only do you gain a strong amount of feedback for if you're presenting, but if you're one of the fellow members in the forum, you all of a sudden say, you know what? I can apply these experiences, shares to my life because I didn't realize that I really am going through the same things as that individual, or wow, those tax incentives, those things that these guys are doing, I can apply that to my business and make some money that I didn't realize was an opportunity prior to the presentation.
Yeah. So forum not only helps the person who's kind of on the hot seat processing an
Most
issue,
definitely.
but it also helps everybody else in the room as they maybe surface issues or even opportunities, right, that they didn't realize they had.
Yes, most definitely. And once we're done with the presentation, we go around the room and we share takeaways. And even sharing a takeaway, someone might say, oh, wow, I did not realize that that individual took that away. Yeah, I'm going to write that down in my takeaway. Ditto, I agree with that. Same thing that I'm pulling from this experience share also.
You share takeaways, right? Is there an action component where you declare a to do and then the group holds you accountable to whether you took that action when you come back?
No, there really isn't that accountability. The accountability in EO is time, making
Yeah,
sure that you are providing your time to the forum, that everyone in that forum is providing time together. So
right.
as far as accountability for to-dos or rocks, we typically don't have any of that. Now that doesn't mean that you're forum mates aren't going to come back and say, hey, how are you doing with this? Did that work out well for you? Because they want to know if something that you learned in forum was applied, that an individual learned in forum was applied to their business and how it worked. Because understanding that and understanding whether a system is working or not can provide definitely a great amount of opportunity for yourself.
Right, right. And so EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, is one type of business owner peer group. There are
Yes.
other types. For instance, my friend Janet Walker, she's a Vistage chair with Vistage. And with Vistage, you also have what's called a board of fellow entrepreneurs where it's facilitated by an executive coach, in this case, Janet Walker. And there is more formal to do and rock accountability where you're asked by your group and you're also asked by your executive coach, did you actually do it? That right
Mm-hmm.
there is another key difference between EO and Vistage, in that EO is member led and member moderated, right? There's
Yes.
a a rotating sort of moderator for your EO forum. Whereas with something like one of Janet Walker's Vistage groups, it's going to be Janet Walker as the moderator. Let's go back to another kind of issue, that being family and personal matters. Entrepreneurship puts a tremendous amount of stress on your family. You've told me, Steve, that EO has allowed you to be more present with your
Most
family
definitely.
when you're with them. How does that work?
Because, so in EO, we do a lot of focus on it. Basically, EO, you can get out of EO what you want to. You can take away the business, you can take away family, you can take away personal. I like to try to stay in the median to make sure I'm gaining traction on all three of those different areas in my life. We've actually, on a retreat, had an individual come and provide us with some marital guidance, which was great and enlightening. Now I can tell you some of those things. My wife was like, hey, don't be doing those Ken tricks on me, because I know what you're doing now with that. But in the same regard, I've learned how to cope with my issues at home. I'm a guy with 4 kids at home and 2 off and away. But so we definitely have busy times, and sometimes it's trying. And when you're wanting to be on the phone all night with your fellow coworkers or your team members, what it's allowed me to understand is when I can leave work at work, home at home, and be able to move away from the challenges I face on a day-to-day basis at work and invest more time into my wife and my kids and be present with them when I'm at home. And it really has enabled me to grow as a father and as a husband, being able to move from work to home. As an entrepreneur, I always say we're always on vacation, we're always working. But EO is, in the experiences I've shared with some of the individuals in my forum and some of the people that I've met along the way, has given me the tools, in particularly to leave work at work, because I've done the things throughout my day and managed my time appropriately. So I know that when I'm at home, I can be present with my kids.
Amazing.
And that's one of the things that I talk to individuals about when they discuss, I really don't have time for EO. There's so many things in my life I'm doing right now. I don't know if I have time to pile something else on my plate. And my comeback to that is precisely why you need EO, because what EO does provide you is an ability to manage time, manage areas in your life, so you can have quality time when you're with those that matter most.
Yeah, and Steve, I run into the same challenges, right? When I'm recruiting people to give EOS a try, they say, "Oh my God, that sounds like a lot. It sounds like just one more thing on my plate." And the reality is that when you have a business operating system like EOS, it allows you to do the work that you're already doing more effectively, more efficiently, and it actually saves time. I mean, you know yourself from using the level 10 meeting that that eliminates a whole bunch of other meetings. So you
Oh
gain
yeah.
back time in your week. And there's always that challenge of like, it sounds kind of pitchy though, it sounds like you're trying to sell something like, oh yeah, man, no, this isn't, an overwhelming burden that's going to crush you. It's going to be all rainbows and unicorns on the other side of this. Hey, so audience, man, thanks for sticking with us. Aaron, Anthony, Dave, John, Mark, Matt, Paul, it is tremendous to have you here. I know a couple of you are in peer groups of your own. We would love to hear some questions from you. Type them into the Q&A box. You'll see that a little bit to the right of your mute and stop video buttons. Please ask questions. Hey, I'm about halfway done with my questions and everything. So if we run out, right, Steve and I are just going to start talking about the weather and the camping trips that we're going to go on. Let's keep this focused on business here. All right, so another benefit of EO, you've got the EO forums. That's the intense issue solving with a small group of peers, and then you've got the opportunity to learn new tools at chapter events. You, for instance, learned about Culture Index through an EO chapter event. What was that like, and what difference has that made in your business?
So Culture Index, and I don't know how many of you know what Culture Index is. The Culture Index is a system that allows you to understand individuals in your company, along with the EOS system of right person, right seat, and evaluating that. Culture Index is another opportunity that gives you a very clear understanding of whether an individual is built through character, through the way they operate as an individual, their great traits and their unfortunate traits that they're not so successful at. But what Culture Index does is it measures your ability to your competitive ability. It measures your basically social ability. It measures your ability to interact with individuals, your patience, and your willingness to get things done. Now, an individual like me, I am highly competitive and I'm highly social. However, when my patience and my inability to get things done drops off drastically, because I am a 20 big idea guy, that I'm the guy that brings the fish to the hook. But if you ask me to reel it in, I'll tell you, I'm not the guy. And so in these chapter events, you learn and you meet individuals that are of the highest level in the industry for being Culture Index training and different things such as that. But what that has allowed us to do is apply Culture Index to the individuals in our company and learn that, hey, we've got some people that are in the right people, wrong seat. And it really allows us to get the best out of our individuals. The chapter events are amazing. Basically sales, marketing, operations. We had Mark Cuban speak to us as far as a global event a few weeks ago, that the takeaway was amazing from that. And those type of events are another thing in EO that gives you an opportunity to apply different things to your business and or your home life.
Yeah, and I think what I like about EO chapter events is this idea that, you know, it's possible for me to go to some industry association event and see Mark Cuban speak.
Mhm.
Maybe I go to a roofing products association meeting or whatever, and there's a culture index speaker there. But the cool thing about EO chapter events is everybody in your chapter, in your forum, is kind of experiencing the same thing. And so you've got a ready-made group of people who know you and you know your business, and you can just have that conversation with them faster, right? Because they
Most definitely.
experience the same thing in the same context. Okay, we have got
What's
a
also
question. We've got a
okay.
question. Let's
Go
answer
ahead. What do we
Matt's
got?
question. So Matt Firestone says, I looked into EO and there are minimum revenue levels for companies to be admitted into EO. What are your recommendations for companies that don't meet these revenue levels yet?
So currently in EO, there is currently in EO Nebraska, we do not have a existing opportunity for companies that are lower than 1 million, that are doing revenue lower than $1 million. However, there had been a system called the Accelerator Program, which takes individuals who are doing with revenue lower than $1 million and basically guides them through some very similar forum and EO steps. And I will tell you this: the the incoming president from EO Nebraska went through that program, and he's got amazing businesses, and things have grown tremendously. One of the things that I would recommend is meeting an individual such as myself, and we can put you with some individuals that will call you on a once in a while basis. You know, I've met some individuals, business owners this year that have been shy of the $1 million mark, and continually checking in with them every quarter and sharing some experiences that we're having in EO, and allowing that individual to understand what those experiences are. I've actually even taken an individual that that didn't qualify to a chapter event, because we can invite guests to the chapter event. And as a membership chair, I'm pretty much encouraged to
Yeah.
bring people into different events like that so they can grow as an individual in a business also.
And everybody on the call, here's just a reminder, Steve is the membership chair. He is trying to recruit members for EO. I am going to share your contact information, your email
I
addresses with
appreciate that.
Steve. He'll be reaching out to you by email. And of course, you two are, everybody on here is a business owner, your fellow business owners. If now's not the right time, Steve can take it, just tell him. But if it is the right time to have a conversation, answer his email. And, perhaps one of these days we can get together in person for beers or a bourbon once the quarantine is a little more fully lifted. All right, so let's talk about the details, segueing off of Matt's questions. Tell me the particulars of EO membership. Who qualifies? How do I get started? What's the time commitment?
So, EO, we look for individuals that, number one, it's the quality of individual that we're looking for. Um, I had mentioned the $1 million mark, but number one, you go to the eonetwork.org, fill out an application, and from that point, that is sent to the membership chair, and basically I set up an interview, which typically lasts about a half an hour. And what we're looking for is, again, individuals that have a thirst for learning, individuals that are not the smartest person in the room, individuals that we think would provide great experience share and ability to listen to forum mates. So I go through that. We ask a series of questions, everything from your your dog's name to what kind of cars you like. And from then, if that process goes well, and I determined that an individual or prospect is a good candidate for EO, and the candidate and the prospect want to pursue, we basically from there go to a board interview. I type up a summary of all the questions that we've gone through, everything that I've learned about that individual. Many times I do take a site visit to their business to ensure that everything they have discussed is as accuracy. And then we meet with the board, and on the board they put you through an interview. Sometimes it's grueling, sometimes it's pretty easy. It just depends on how board members whether they had a great day or whether they're ready to challenge someone. But and at that process, once someone is accepted, the board votes right then and there that day, and I give a call out to an individual and say, hey, you are board approved. And then the process has to go through the entire chapter. Our chapter is 100 members strong, and at that point, everybody in the chapter is asked if there's any negative feedback about an individual. And we've had a couple that did not make it through the chapter because of some different issues they had with other chapter members and how they ran their business, and whether they were ethical, and whether we knew that their time would be able to be dedicated to EO or not. And once it goes through the chapter, then we sign them up for EO Global, and they get pushed through and then placement into a forum.
Sounds like a high standard, which appeals to me. I want to clarify here, make sure that somebody like me would qualify. You said that you asked the name of their dog. So does that mean that cat people need not apply?
Only if they have tigers. That's it.
All right. So time commitment. Yeah, that's a concern, right?
Yes, time commitment is entrepreneurs. Time is precious, but EO does cost some money. Every year it's a reoccurring about $4,500 to $5,000 charge. To join EO, it's about $7,500. I feel that is pennies in the well compared to the knowledge I gain. But entrepreneurs are out there putting a strong monetary investment into it. And not only that, but your fellow forum mates are also investing an enormous amount of time. We in our forum are allowed to miss one meeting per year. And at that point in time, after missing one meeting, you can be kicked out of the forum. I'll tell you, in 2018 or 2019, I had two experiences 2018, I had an experience that I had to miss a forum due to a personal matter with our dogs, and being a dog guy. And unfortunately, it was something that I couldn't miss with my spouse, and so I had to miss forum. Well, about 2 months later, my wife had gotten sick with an infection, and it was pretty scary there for a while in the hospital. But my wife knew I had forum, and I had to leave the hospital for a half a day to attend my forum meeting, which was amazing because during that forum meeting, I was able to be embraced by friends and forum mates that allowed me to march through the issue in the hospital and get through that. But I knew my commitment, and my wife knew my commitment to forum at that point in time was very important. I also had an interesting experience where my brother was doing his final flight at the Air Force base he was commanding, and he unfortunately had the dates mixed up. And I was like, I wanted to be there for my brother, who's a fighter pilot, general, by the way, which give props to him. But I wanted to be there for his final flight at his Air Force base in Idaho. And unfortunately, the dates were screwed up, and it was landed on a forum. And because I had missed forum in January with my dogs, I wasn't able to be there. But I'm okay with that because I made a commitment to EO and I made a commitment to my forum that I'm going to be there and I'm going to be present to provide experience, share, and feedback so those individuals can take away the most from their EO experiences I want to take away also.
Yeah, it sounds like a powerful commitment you have. It sounds like a powerful commitment they have to you.
Most definitely.
Friends, Anthony, Dave, John, Mark, Matt, Paul, it's time for questions. Let's grill this guy, right? What questions do you have? Type them in the Q&A. And then while they're thinking about their questions, Steve, what's a question I did not ask you that I should have?
So, one of the things that I didn't cover, some of the exact experiences that EO does provide. And I just got off the phone with an individual this morning that was talking to me about his experience. And I asked if I could share his name. His name's Mckenzie. And, the COVID and the COVID thing, it's been just crazy for us all as entrepreneurs. We've had enormous highs and we've had enormous lows. And it's been a very trying time for us all. It's tough sometimes to be present at home, but EO is definitely provided me with a mindset that gives me the ability to navigate this. I had an individual in our forum that was very concerned early on. I believe it was in late January that he had come to forum and expressed his major concerns of the virus that we were facing.
Yeah.
And we had all shrugged it off a little bit. I had shrugged it off, excuse me. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I had shrugged it off a little bit as that can't happen. I mean, those type of things aren't going to happen. We'll be able to squash this, no problem. And this individual had started removing money from the stock market, had started prepping at home. So another individual in our forum, Matt Mckenzie, who's a ServPro guy. Now, ServPro, they're a water restoration, fire restoration, and cleaning firm, one of the largest in the world, definitely the largest player nationally. And so he was able to heed the experience share from this other individual. And what he did was he went out and bought a significant amount of the high dollar air intrusion type of ventilation mask systems. So when the time did hit that he may need to do some cleaning or may need to do some things, his team was set up. He also went ahead and went to ServPro and went and bought a bunch of chemicals for cleaning and everything. So again, he had all this stock. And his business, unlike several, his business has flourished during this market and during this time.
Yeah, Matt shared that story with me too, right?
Yes.
So he's a ServPro franchisee. He had the PPE, the personal protective equipment, while ServPro corporate didn't.
Exactly.
because of the advanced sort of strategic thinking that he was doing with his EO Forum brothers and sisters. Yeah.
It's the PPP and EO. Our forum, we communicate constantly on text message. And the other thing about this is the PPP. When PPP started coming into a thought process that this was actually going to happen, we were able to extract information in which led to us all having the ability to get our PPP money right away,
Yeah.
which was great, had a great impact on most of our businesses. We also consistently share information on how to navigate through the PPP. And I'll be honest with you, from my experiences and what I've learned in EO, I can easily go to my banker and say, I think what you're telling me, I really don't believe is accurate. I really think you need to read through that again, because the individuals that I've been sharing with in EO, we're getting information from several different firms, from law firms, from accounting firms, from banks, to be able to provide us an ability to navigate through all the diverse information coming in about the PPP, which has been successful for most everybody.
Right. I want to make a couple of summary comments, and then I'm going to take a question first from John and then from Matt. So the summary comment is, man, we're entrepreneurs, right? Everybody on this call is an entrepreneur. We see a problem in the world and we say, man, nobody else is doing this. I'm going to go fix that, right? So there is a natural go it alone tendency among we entrepreneurs. We're the crazy people who see an opportunity and go after it, right? And that go it alone attitude is powerful, and it can also hold us back. And so two stories that Steve has just shared with us show that when you don't go it alone, one, you get access to PPE, personal protective equipment, when everybody else is scrambling for it. And two, you get access to PPP, Paycheck Protection Program funds, way before they run out, right? Which is a powerful advantage of not going it alone, but going together, right? Okay, so John asks the question, what's the likelihood of an accelerator type option coming back around?
I think that I thought we were going to have it for 2020-21. Currently, there's been discussion about it, but right now at this point, I can tell you I'm not certain whether that's going to be in place. I can get more information on that from our president and see if that is something that they're looking to push through in the fall of 2020 or early 2021. I do know that there are some avenues out there for mentorship that I definitely can also share with you.
Yeah, and so that was John Hallgren asking that question. So when you email him the follow-up, you can cover that with John. And then John, we're all entrepreneurs, sometimes a little scattered. Wouldn't hurt to remind Steve that you have that question when you interact by email. Okay, next up is Matt Firestone. Matt asks, Steve, could you clarify something you mentioned earlier? You said something along the lines of being involved in multiple businesses, but now focus most of your efforts on one. Did you get rid of your interest in the others, or just find the right individuals to run those businesses for you while you still own them? Or did you walk away completely so you can focus strictly on Stonebrook Exterior?
So in last year, my wife and I purchased a cheer gym in the thoughts of having something for girls that are heavily involved in competitive cheer. And we also have a company called Blue River Metal, which is a fabrication company that ships metal to different, not only to some of our different markets, but also to different distribution centers that we work with on a wholesale program. And then obviously my main business is Stonebrook Exterior, and that's where I spend most of my time. Now, what I learned from owning a competitive cheer gym, sure, it's wonderful to own a business where your kids are able to flourish and be a part of the clientele and love the fact that they now have a playground in their backyard that they can go to and practice. However, it was taking an enormous amount of my time. And in January, I sat down with several individuals and started looking at that business, whether or not it was really worth the basically what I was getting out of it. And I'll be honest with you, we determined that our family life with my wife and I's involvement in it was on a slight decline because we were investing so much time in the business, and something that we thought would be great for our kids was actually taken away from our children's lives. So through my peers, I was able to determine that the monetary allowance that we were receiving from that business was not worth the pain and suffering going through to our family. And not only that, but what it was taking away from the business that I was operating, which is Stonebrook. Similarly on the Blue River side, I'm a guy that likes to jump in, and some might say that I'm fatally addicted to growth. However, there's some problems we go through ebbs in our businesses where things operating amazingly, and then you hit a ceiling and you need to figure out ways to bust through the ceiling. And so a lot of the focus needs to be directed into doing that. And so I basically took some focus off of what I was doing with Blue River Metal and directed that focus to Stonebrook. And that's allowed us to do some very good things here in the last 2 quarters at Stonebrook.
Yeah. All right, friends, we are coming to the end of our time together. Steve was actually kind enough to drive back into town from a camping trip with his family to do this interview for us. And so we'd like to get him back into the wide open spaces. One last chance for questions. Anybody want to type one really quick? We can take one more. If I don't see one in about 15 seconds, we're going to wrap things up here. Three, two, one. All right. Looks like we stunned everybody with your brilliance, Steve. Just a reminder, friends. Well, let's see. Dave has raised his hand. Let's just, I'm going to click allow him to talk. So Dave, if you want to unmute your microphone, you can ask a question.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you, Mark. I really appreciate that you came out of the wilderness to speak to us today.
Yeah. And Dave is in a peer group himself, one I'm especially fond of. It's the Pipeline Entrepreneurial Fellowship, which is a fellowship of about, what, Dave, well over 100 high growth entrepreneurs from Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. Tremendous peer feedback that they get. They also have, when you join the program, a 1-year fellowship with 4 intense modules that really help you tune up your business during the startup phase. All right. So with that, we will go ahead and conclude. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Coming in today to tell us about membership in EO Nebraska. Enjoy the rest of your time together with your family. The rest of you who are still on the line, as promised, I'll give a brief summary of EOS if you're interested in sticking around for that. So thanks, Steve. Go ahead and sign off, and then I'll do that EOS summary. Bye now.
I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you very much. I'll be sending some information out, John, to everyone.
Absolutely. Great.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Bye now. Okay, hey, for those of you who are still on the call and want a brief summary of EOS, this will take about 4 or 5 minutes. So EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and what this is a complete and proven system with simple practical tools that are designed to get you, the business owner, everything that you want from your business. And one of the things that people find when they're running a business is that there's 136 things flying at you from up, left, down, forward, backwards, diagonal. Man, there are wastebasket fires right outside the office door. There's dumpster fires in the parking lot. Smoke gets in your eyes. You can't see the forest for the trees. Entrepreneurship and owning a business is just wild and crazy. And so what we have found is that to the extent you will manage to and strengthen just 6 key components of your business shown here on this slide, oh man, that just tends to calm everything down and let you get a grip on your business. So you're running it rather than it's running you. And so what I do is I take a journey with all of my clients to solve their issues at the root by strengthening these 6 key components. What I'm going to do is take a quick spin around the model and describe to you what your company looks and feels like at the end of our journey together. So we work together to strengthen your vision component, which means getting all of your people all on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there. Not only that, but all of your people, 100% of them, know their role in executing on your plan and vision, and they want to accomplish it for you. Strengthening the people component means defining great people uniquely for your company, getting the right people in the right seats, because you can't execute on that vision without great people. Ultimately, this is surrounding yourself with people who kick your tires and light your fires, right? The reality of business is that we're going to spend more time with our coworkers than we spend with our family. So why in the world would we settle for anything less than the best? Why would we settle for drama and politics and, people who just aren't great fits? We're going to fix that problem for you. We're going to strengthen the data component, which means running your company on good, hard, solid facts and figures rather than the guesses, egos, and assumptions that rule the day at so many fast-growing businesses, ultimately giving you such an absolute pulse on the health of your business that you can, wait for it, take a vacation, right? Shortly into our EOS journey together, Dave Epp from Epp Foundation Repair took a 2-week disconnected Cabo vacation because he had an absolute pulse on the health of his business. He had the right people in the right seats. Okay, once we've strengthened vision, people, and data, if you can imagine that, your company becomes much more open, honest, lucid, transparent, to the point where issues, there in the lower left, things that are holding us back, points of friction, difficulty, stuff ticking us off, people ticking us off, man, we just get really good at talking about those things in the open, putting them on an issues list, setting them up, knocking them down, and making them go away forever, rather than doing what most people in business do, which is wrap them up in duct tape and baling wire, stick them in the corner, hope that they don't explode, and by the way, they always do. 2 more components, we're strengthening the process component, which means getting your secret sauce, your unique way of business, simplified, documented, and followed by all. So everybody from the 20-year employee to the brand new person just coming in does it your way, the right way, each and every time. This is what's going to give you predictability, profitability, ultimately scalability to any size you desired. And then finally, we're strengthening the traction component, which means bringing that vision down to the ground and executing on it week in, week out, with discipline and real accountability. It's no mistake, friends, that the EOS model looks like a wheel with vision at the top and traction at the bottom, because what we like to say is that vision without traction is hallucination. If you try to achieve one without the other, you're just going to do what most business owners do, which is, okay, so They're working 70 hours a week already, and they're frustrated. They're not getting what they want from their business. So what they do is they say, God, it just must be me. I'm not working hard enough. So they press harder on the gas pedal, work 80 hours a week, but they don't have traction. So what they end up doing is spinning their wheels, throwing up a bunch of mud, frustrating themselves and others. And friends, that's not what I want from my friends building great companies for great customers with great employees in the greatest state in the union, Nebraska. So that's why I'm glad that you stuck around to hear me talk about traction and EOS. Real quick, everything that I've told you is described in a series of 5 books written by real life entrepreneurs for real life entrepreneurs. If you want a copy of any of these books, just ask. Be happy to help you by sharing them. Last reminder, June 26th, we're talking integrators with the search firm that placed EOS Worldwide's integrator. July 10th, we're talking using improvisational comedy skills to improve your business communication and selling skills. That's July 10th. And finally, I'm John Fullwider. This has been Focus Friday. Thanks so much for being here. Go forth and have a restful weekend. Have a great day, everyone.